We are not licensed medical professionals. The thoughts and opinions expressed on this podcast are meant to share our experiences and not to diagnose or as a form of treatment. If you or anyone you know is currently suffering, respectfully encourage them to seek help from a licensed medical professional. The topics discussed in this podcast may be triggering for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Now Try It With Wine. My name is Mary.
I'm Des, and today we're talking about communication and comprehension because it's a big one.
I'm sorry, Desi going,
I don't know how to start it. Okay. So, we always say, we preface on all of our videos that communication is key. But Mary noticed that we actually never talked about communication.
Or communication styles and things like that. And that's not what we're going to focus on today, I believe.
Right. I really want to focus on, obviously, communication, but also comprehending. Another way to say it is understanding and being understood.
Yeah.
And this can be done in any environment. It can be your workplace, your relationship, your friend, your friendship. You just have to understand that sometimes you are saying what you want to say, but the person's just not understanding, and that's why the argument can get worse.
Or you're trying to protect someone by saying it a certain way, and that can cause a lot of miscommunication. During
my research, I was noticing, I guess, like, better ways to bring it up, which is smart. So, I was learning smarter ways to bring it up, because sometimes I just bring it up and it's not the best time. It's just on my mind, so I have to get it done. But I guess I want to talk about communication and comprehension first, and then we can talk about the nitty-gritty and how we can do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. How do you define communication? Like, is it like so we're just saying any kind of interaction between two people where are you like considering body language?
Yes. So I think more so communication is for someone that you've already established boundaries with. You understand that they can validate you, and you trust them more than anything. You want to make sure that you, as well as the person, are a safe place for each other. So if you do bring something up like, Mary, I didn't like how you said that to me, I know that you would actually listen to me and comprehend what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
And not take it too personal.
Yeah.
A lot of people say I don't take things personally.
Sometimes I feel like you do, but not intentionally.
Yeah, I think I do when it's not necessarily being directed at me, but somebody I care about.
Yeah.
Because then I will take it personally. If someone calls Robert a name or says something mean to him, I get vicious.
You get in it. How you say it, I get vicious.
I got to protect what's mine, Des.
So I've said multiple times in the podcast that I am not good at communication. Actually, I lied. I'm good at communication because I will tell Andrew, I don't really like how you did this to me today, or you made me sad when you said this. But I'm not good at comprehending, because Andrew will come back and be like, oh, it's because I did this instead. And I'm like, well, you're wrong. I don't understand.
Let's put that to the test. Producer in the hot seat. Would Dez's statement make sense to you?
Comprehension.
Or do you think she effectively communicates to you?
She is not very good at effectively expressing her feelings there in the moment.
Yeah.
I can agree with Andrew on that. Because I noticed, because you and I both do the same thing, we a little passive aggressive.
I don't mean to. Sometimes I'm just trying to be like jokingly, but then sometimes I'm like, man, why would I say that?
And I do the same thing. Like, I don't want to be so direct. And I think passive aggressive is my way of trying to be indirect, like trying to make it light, but still communicate what's going on. And I think it would have been better if I had just been direct.
I agree.
I finally, I have a story about this actually.
Do you want to go first? You can tell your story.
I can just tell them a story. It's like a quick story. So Robert has this annoying habit of when I'm trying to have an honest discussion about something serious and it's important to me, he makes a joke out of it. It's just like a knee-jerk thing. Like, he doesn't think it's a big deal. He thinks he's being funny. But I'm trying to have a serious conversation, and he keeps making jokes and laughing the whole time. So I would, like, try to laugh it off and, I really don't like that you did that, but whatever. Like, not being direct with him about what was bothering me. Mm-hmm. Until I was like, you know what? What do I have to lose by not being direct? So I think it happened last week. When I asked him to read something that I was like really passionate about and I was like wanting his like opinion on it, he was like, I can't believe this is worded this way, like made a joke out of it. And I was like, you know what? Stop. Give me back my phone. I don't want you looking at it. I don't want your opinion. You need to just stop, because if you continue to make jokes out of it and make it seem like it's not a big deal, you're hurting my feelings and you're making me uncomfortable. And then I don't feel comfortable having this conversation with you because you're making a joke out of something that I'm taking very seriously. And he, like, I could tell I hurt his feelings because, again, he wasn't trying to be mean. It's just kind of his reaction to things.
Yeah.
But me being able to say it just directly, he hasn't done it again since. And he would do this, like, on a daily basis.
I think you handled it well. You communicated, and he comprehended. But
up to that point, I was doing the passive-aggressive thing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You were being a little more passive, and that's not what we want.
Right.
What we want is for you to have a good conversation with that person.
Yeah, that conversation should have happened the first time, not the millionth time it happened.
Right. My story is actually, like, yesterday. So these past 2 days, Andrew told me that he was going to do the dishes, and I was like, okay, great. And he did all the dishes, but he didn't do those damn cups.
Oh, my cups. The ones I left over here.
She brought, like, these metal reusable ones. They're really cool. Don't get me wrong. But, like, we use them continuously, so then we have to wash them. And Andrew's like, I'm not going to wash them. There's too many of them. And I was like, okay, that's fine. He was like, I'll wash them tomorrow, I promise. Tomorrow comes, and he doesn't wash them. So I'm like, okay, you get to wash these and whatever else is in the dish, the sink. And he was like, okay, fine. And then he still doesn't wash them. So I got passive, and I was like, I'm just going to wash them, right? So then I, like, went past him. I was like, thanks for doing the dishes. And he was like, oh, you did the dishes. And I was like, I know. And I did the cups. Like, so again, I should have just told him. But I think it's because, like, I've already been telling him.
Yeah. So when you're angry, it's hard to be an effective communicator.
Right. And I think that's my problem. At that point, I'm like, I'll just do it. It's fine. It's whatever. And then I'm upset about it. And that doesn't help any of us.
So some of the benefits, if we were more effective communicators, that I found in my research from an article on Portland Community College entitled 7 Benefits of Effective Communication in Personal and Professional Settings.
I'll be taking these very seriously.
So building trust was one of the benefits. And I think both of our examples show that we didn't trust the other person that the other person heard us.
Right.
So I think that's, like, if we had better communication, we wouldn't have that issue with the trust.
Yeah, and don't get us wrong. Obviously, we do trust our partners. It's just more so it's these little things.
Yeah, I don't trust that I'm being heard all the time. I'm not saying I don't trust him in other aspects of our lives, but I don't trust that I'm always being heard or being understood.
Right. And I think, again, you want to be understood when you're communicating to your partner, to your friend, to your dog, to your coworker, your boss, whoever.
Yup. And it's preventing issues, providing clarity and direction, creating better relationships, increasing engagement, improving productivity, and promotes team building. I think that's most of it in a professional, but also in your personal life, because it's like not just you and your partner. It could be you with your mom, you with your dad, like siblings. We're all working as a team. Well, for me at least, that's how I see everybody. We're all playing for the same team.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. We should also add that I know, again, when you're talking to someone, always make sure that it's a good time. Okay? Because, yeah, I might be, like, upset about it and I want to talk about it now. But if Andrew's playing Call of Duty, he's got 0 kills and 23 deaths, I don't think that's the best time for me to talk to him because he's already upset with the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess making a space where you can both be engaged in the conversation.
Right. I think the best time would ask, is this a good time for you? Like, can we sit down and talk, you know?
Yeah, I wait for Robert to be on one of the loading screens. And I'm like, can we have a conversation real quick off to the side?
I want a one-on-one right now. I want to like scream it to y'all because I have this problem and so does my dad. And he always says it to my mom, but it's always him. Your tone of voice matters because I have that problem. Mary and I were just talking about it. That sometimes I'll just like be funny. I'll be like, Mary, put that away. And she was like, okay, but you didn't have to be so mean about it. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't mean to. Like, I'm so sorry.
I think it's that you're trying to be funny, but if the other person isn't on that same wavelength, it doesn't sound funny.
It was at like a weird point too.
Yeah, and I knew you were trying to be funny, but I think I wasn't in my headspace, wasn't there, so I immediately went to like, what? What'd you say?
Fuck you mean? Put it away.
Now let me get my boy over here to handle it.
I didn't mean it, but it's your tone of voice and your word choice too.
Yeah.
I think when you're talking to somebody, I don't think you should be like cussing or saying those nicknames you have for each other. You know, I think I'd be like, Andrew, but he can call me Des because Desiree is my government name. We don't use that unless I'm in trouble.
I agree. I think that when we were talking specifically, I guess, about communication with your partner and it's something serious, setting the stage for it. Like, hey, we need to have a serious discussion. When are you free to, like, so we can sit down and give each other that focus and that engagement?
I've seen on TikTok, like, the years I've been on TikTok, I've been on it since 2019. There's
an
weird
OG.
There's weird people, and then I only say they're weird because I remember she had a good idea. She was like, at the end of the week, we both sit down and we talk about like what made us upset that week about each other and how we can fix it to make us better the next week. And I'm like, wow, that is so smart. What was the weird part? They intertwined toes. I remember it and everyone was making fun of that part. But it's really smart, not the toes part.
No, I had that recommended to me too from a counselor. So I remember I had told you, me and Robert hadn't really struggled until maybe the year after I gave birth. Yeah. And we ended up in counseling. And the counselor, one of her suggestions for us was to communicate expectations more clearly. And that was her suggestion, was to sit down together and plan our week. Because I don't know if it's like in everyone's household, but for me, I do all the bill paying. I manage the bank accounts. I plan our dates. I make sure we have money for those dates. Yeah. Like, I do all of the planning. And the information isn't communicated to Robert until he asks, or I put it on the calendar. Like, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Or he's gotten better about, because before what we would have issues is double booking, because I'd already have the weekend planned, but he didn't know that he had the weekend planned. So he'd be telling people he was going to go over, and then we'd end up going to everybody's house in like 2 days. So I understood where she meant, like, communicating clearly with your partner. Something you've already had it planned, you can't just assume the other person knows. Like, I was just assuming that because I always do the schedule, he wouldn't make plans without talking to me. Yeah. And that wasn't fair, because he's his own person too. He has his own things he wants to do, his own priorities. So just communicating those in a safe, like a dedicated space. I don't think that kind of communication basically happens organically.
No, it doesn't. At least for Andrew and I, once we moved in together, that's when, like you said, we're a married couple now. Like, we do things together. Obviously you can go by yourself to things, but like usually it's like, where's Andrew? Where's Des?
Well, as a Mexican, if you appear somewhere without your spouse, your family members,
divorce.
Yep. Cheating, divorce, they're arguing, their marriage is on the rocks. It's been better because now with Robert, he has to work the weird hours and stuff, so they don't immediately go to divorce. But I remember in the beginning, especially right after we first got married and I showed up anywhere without him, they were like, oh my God, look, I told you, Mira, it wasn't going to work out. I told her.
Mine is, do they hate me?
Mm-hmm.
Just recently, Andrew like goes to church on Sundays at 10 a.m. Sometimes I go, but that's if I actually go to bed at a good time. I usually go to bed at like 2 or 3 in the morning. I'm a night owl, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then I gotta wake up at 8 a.m. to make sure I'm ready. That's 6 hours of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that. So then I'll just sleep in, you know? But Andrew's mom's like, well, why isn't she here? Is she mad at me? Like, does she not want me does she not want to come anymore? And Andrew's like, I'm so sorry. She just likes to stay up really late.
Yeah, I think people, when your presence communicates importance, and when you start putting boundaries and not being present the way they want you to, it can be taken negatively.
Yeah.
Because that happens with me too. Like if I don't go to every little family event or I miss one, this was an old thing. Now they know I might not go. But in the past, it would turn into like, why don't you care about us? Why don't you want to come see us? Are we not important?
I'm happy my family's not like that. I guess more so like my dad's side would probably be, but the only Thea I really talk to, she knows that I'm just really busy. Like now that I have the podcast, she totally understands. We FaceTime all the time.
But it's real easy to be that person who like they miss someone and you can take anything the wrong way.
Yeah. But with my Thea, I told her like, I'm sorry, Thea, like I'm busy. Or if you tell me like ahead of time if you want to hang out, like I can figure it out. Like I'll go hang out with you. Again, it's that communicating part. She communicates that she wants to see me. I understand and I make time for her, you know? And the same thing with my sister. She loves my sister. My sister's always sleeping.
Me and my brother actually had a conversation today about being more open with how much we need each other to each other. Because I think that we get really caught up in our lives and then we lose, or certain relationships aren't as strong or like consistent as they used to be. And then we mourn that and then we might act out in other ways instead of just communicating, hey, I need to see you. Like, I need you to come hang out with me, or let's go catch lunch, or can you make it a priority to come see me? Because I've seen that a lot in my family too, where a lot of the miscommunication is coming in because they're doing something bad to get attention so that they can tell me, can you come hang out with me?
Yeah, I see that.
Does that happen with you at all?
No. My dad and my mom will call me and be like, oh my God, I haven't heard your voice in like 3 years. What are you doing? You're alive? I'm like, okay.
But that's what I mean. Like, I'm not saying Joey did anything bad, but I'm saying that like some of the rhetoric or their communication to you becomes kind of aggressive because they want to see you. So they'll make comments like that. Because my mom makes comments like that too when it's been too long and I haven't gone to see her. So another example of miscommunications, I actually found a website called B-State. There was an article called 5 Workplace Miscommunication Examples and How to Avoid Them.
Ah, the workplace.
Where the most miscommunication honestly happens.
Per my last email. That is me all day.
I don't like being pointedly aggressive at work. And I consider passive aggressiveness pointed. So I'm like a real, like, how do you say it? I'm an avoider. I will avoid conflict like the plague.
See, I'm different.
And
I'm the per my last email. Yep. I'm also the smiley face at the end of something bad. I'll be like, hi, you did your claim incorrectly. Go ahead and fix that. Smiley face.
You know, but I've also seen other people try to use the smiley. It depends on the person and their intent, really. Because I have another coworker who uses smiley face to soften it because I think she's gotten a lot of feedback that she's aggressive. She just has RBF. She's not an aggressive person at all. She's super, super sweet. I've talked to her before in the hallway, and I was scared of her because of the RBF. But then I would Teams her. I was like, you know what? I have questions. I'm going to Teams her. And she would always end it with a smiley face. And I'm like, are we best friends? So I think it just depends on the person and their intent and the context. And I think we should do a whole another episode about active listening. Because you have to know how to pick up on those cues that someone else, like if you had sent me per my last email, to me, because I'm such like a light person, I wouldn't immediately think you were being aggressive.
I don't intend to be. Like, I know I said, like, I know you're like, I don't, what did you say about the plague that you...
Avoid conflict like the plague.
You avoid it. I don't intend to be mean itself. You know, it's just more so, I'm like, okay, I've already asked you 3 times. Like, per my last email, this is what you need to do. Which is a lot because I work in the claims department for my office. And I when a claim comes in, I have to tell them, like, okay, I need this type of paperwork. So I send that email. And they're like, what paperwork do you need? And I'm like, the one that I put in the last email. And they're like, but what is it? I'm like, per my last email. It is for the specific claim that you just fucking gave me. So I think that's where, like, I'm upset.
Yeah, I think miscommunication, especially because it's being done through, like, a mobile, like a text online.
Yeah.
A lot of things can be lost in translation. When I have something really important to tell someone, I pick up the phone and just call them. And I think people are now, like, the technology has made people afraid to pick up the freaking phone.
I'll be honest, I'd rather do everything in email than phone calls.
I want to do an email trail because people can then say I didn't say something that I did say based on the phone call. But if I'm trying, my goal isn't to CYA and my goal is comprehension.
Yeah.
I call.
So I'm going to give everyone a little tip. Every time I do a phone call, I always let the person know. I'm like, okay, everything I told you, I'm going to go ahead and put it in an email. Just so if you have any other questions or you can't remember what I said, it's right there. But again, it's that email trail that you want.
Yeah, it's the CYA part is the email. I prefer as much communication through email, but when you're talking to someone who doesn't understand the process that you're trying to explain, it's better just to get on the phone.
Yeah.
So some of the examples in the article about miscommunications in the workplace include, I feel like my work is going nowhere. What the employee actually means is I need a greater purpose or better understanding of the vision we are trying to accomplish. I haven't felt that in the workplace before, have you?
I do the bare minimum.
So we'll skip to the next one.
I do what do they call? Quiet quitting. I'm putting in quotations and rolling my eyes.
Because there's a lot of debate about the quiet quitting right now because they're like, that's wrong. You're supposed to be trying 110%. There becomes a point where you've been doing 110% for so long, it doesn't feel like it's worth it anymore. But honestly, to me, I think my new mantra going forward is if I'm giving 110% and it's not being recognized here, go somewhere else.
Yes.
Just go somewhere else. Like, there's no, like, I don't really feel like my work should speak for itself, and that if that's not enough, go somewhere else.
And I think that brings in great with communication. I mean, when I first started, I worked at that medical office, and I was giving 150%, and I didn't even get a good job from the boss. I got the good job from my manager who actually cared about me, but it wasn't enough, you know? So then, like, this current job, I do everything they ask me, and if my manager comes and is like, hey, I am swamped, do you know how to do this? Would you mind doing it? I'll be like, yes, I'll do it this one time. You know? I think, again, I'm putting those boundaries down, but I'm also communicating, like, you can always come to me for help, but please don't expect me to do it all the time.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not trying to be mean. It's just more so I'm already getting paid to do a specific job. I can't be doing extra when that's going to put me behind in my actual
what
duties.
You're being paid to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want, so when I'm in the workplace, I want to feel like I can communicate with my manager and my manager can communicate with me.
Yeah.
And that the conversation is honest. If I sense any kind of untrustworthiness in the conversation, they're not giving me the whole story, there felt any kind of manipulation, I check out. Because I can't handle that. Because to me, when I know it's wrong, but a lot of my identity is rolled into my work and the work I put out. And if I know I'm doing the right things, I'm not getting in trouble for any of my work, you know, it's coming back good, I'm helping other people, I want my pay and title to be reflective of that. I want to move up. So I want to give 110%. But I also want that to be respected in communication back to me, They don't have to give me praise or anything, but promote me, give me a good raise, put me in charge of projects, utilize me.
Right.
But if you're not going to do that, why am I here?
Exactly. And I don't think that's what they understand with the quiet quitting. It's more so, I'm communicating to you that I want more.
Yeah.
Why can't you comprehend that?
Like the next example was, I do all the work, but they're getting all the credit.
Oh, no.
What the employee means is, I've noticed that my peers often get recognized without me, despite the important work I'm doing. I am doing something. Am I doing something wrong? Would you please provide feedback so I know what I can do about it? And a lot of these, I feel like when we do the comment, like, I do all the work, but they're getting all the credit, it's coming out of frustration.
Yeah.
Because it's been happening for a while. The second thing, what they mean, could have been a conversation with their manager prior. But I think we keep waiting for someone in the workplace to recognize this hope. And they always give you different. And they always give you this like rhetoric of like, it'll be your turn. Like you'll eventually get your turn. Like, just be patient. I don't want to be patient, to be honest with you. I'm doing the work now. So why am I not getting recognized now? I just don't like it.
I remember when I worked at the medical office, I remember telling Andrew that I got a promotion, but it was just a title. And I didn't know that. I didn't recognize it until Andrew was like, oh, did you get a raise too? And I'm like, no.
That happened to me too.
I didn't. Hold on.
Mm-hmm. They trick you sometimes. And I don't think they're necessarily doing it intentionally all the time. I just think that that's the capacity of the organization. That's what they can offer you. And if it's not good enough, we should start looking elsewhere.
Exactly. And that's what we did.
Mm-hmm. And I especially think with the quiet quitting, if you get to that point, then you need to be looking for something else.
But we mean like real quiet quitting.
Yeah.
Like you wake up, should I call in? I don't want to go to fucking work today. I hate this job. As soon as like 4:50 hits or whatever time you get out, you're like, oh my God, I have 10 more minutes. You know what? I'm just going to start packing up now. It takes me about 10 minutes anyways.
Yeah, and I love to work and be kept busy. So if I'm feeling like I'm getting to that point somewhere, it's time.
I agree. This job, I love my job. And I love how much they respect me and they respect my boundaries, but they can still come to me for help. Don't think that I'm like a mean person. I'm actually really nice at work, and I always tell people to come to me, but I have told them no a couple of times. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm swamped myself. If I can get to it, I will definitely try, but please understand that like I need to do my job first. And I think that's another thing too that the workplace doesn't comprehend. You already have so much on your plate and they expect you to do more.
Yeah.
And you can't. And so you get in trouble for that.
And then that's being seen as you not giving 110% because you can't complete in this insurmountable amount of work.
Exactly.
And I see that a lot. People, they confuse understaffing with poor performance.
Oh my God. That gets me so upset with the understaffing.
Another example, and this one I hear a lot at my workplace. Workplace meetings are a waste of time. What the employee means is this information could have been provided to us better, more efficient, and in a way that saves time and doesn't confuse us.
You know what that means?
The meeting sucked.
This could have been done in an email.
Yeah. Like for me, some of the meetings could have been done in an email, and other ones, the information was presented in such a confusing way that it was a waste of time to even bring it up because I don't know what to do with this information. I think for me anyways, in the workplace, when you're providing information to employees, it should be information that's needed and how they can use this information. I feel like there's too much emphasis on just communicating information to people and not communicating to them what they should do with this new information. I know that we have, there's been times where the mass email has gone out to explain a situation. How does that apply to one department versus the other? Are they supposed to infer what you mean by that? And then people don't understand that what their role is, what they're being tasked to do because it's being communicated in a mass format.
Could you give an example?
So let's say, for example, your work had their servers go down, right? Okay. And so they're telling people if a client calls in, just tell them we have an issue with the servers and that it's going to get fixed. in my department, let's just say that I have a lot of client-facing interaction. What does it mean that the servers went down? Does that mean anything that the client put into our interface didn't get picked up? What time did it not get picked up? Those would be my concerns. Mm-hmm. If I was in a different department, though, maybe who did the billing, I don't care about if anything didn't get kicked in. Did my billing forms not go out? But I wouldn't be able to tell what's the issue for me based on the mass email of the servers went down.
They're just being more broad than actual, like, per department.
Right. Like, what does this communication mean for me?
Now I understand. My job does that all the time.
Yeah, it's because they give you, or like a new training. Like, we're going to train you on this whole procedure of how we input something into our system. But let's say your part is only the beginning or just the end or just the middle. I understand that it's important to know the entire process, but you should really hone in on the part that is supposed to be for you.
Yeah, I have to go to specific meetings / trainings every quarter. I already know what I'm doing. This is for the people that actually need to do it. Like, again, if a claim comes in, the person that's putting in the claim.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that need a little more. I don't mind asking, like, I'll still ask questions. I'll be like, what does this mean?
What does this button do?
That's me. Like, I'll ask questions, I'll answer questions and everything. But it's just more so, it would be better if it was more pertained to that specific subject. I think, like, those meetings are like, it's only an hour long and we actually have like 3 hours worth of information that we have to squeeze into that.
Yeah.
And that's why everything goes wrong.
And I think businesses just don't want to put the resources in to effectively communicate to their employees because they think they're doing a really good job of it. But then when you're looking at job performance, I think that's one of the really big indicators when you're having poor business performance or a lot of errors are being made. Mm-hmm. Probably there's a lot of miscommunication going on, miscommunication of expectations of people and their role within the wider organization.
Is there anything in there, like, I guess, what we can do workplace-wise?
In fact, there is.
Oh, my gosh.
Skill number 1. Listen, listen, listen.
Oh.
I think to me, that says a lot because if you want to communicate effectively with someone, you need to hear what the other person is saying too.
That's in all.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I'm getting mad at Robert, and he's like, yeah, what do you want for dinner?
Andrew's the same way.
And I think that it's just showing them that they can communicate to you because you're going to hear them, and vice versa. Who you were talking to matters.
Oh,
I like that. I think when I'm crafting something in the workplace, and I'm thinking about how to be effective, I have to think about the skill set of the person I'm communicating to and what's their communication style and how best to relate to them. Some people are more visual people, so I know I have to go sit at their desk and walk them through how to do it visually. Yeah. Other people, I can write a quick little Teams summarizing the process and they can knock it out of the park and they'll just take snapshots or whatever back to me if they have questions or something pops up. You have to know who you're talking to. And I think that to be an effective person, you should do that with every aspect of your life. Like, you know how Andrew communicates best. Like, do you need to go have this face to face or if I have something complicated, I'm going to call Robert. I'm not going to text it to him.
I don't know. I'm like trying to think. Because Andrew and I have both like communicated like face to face and by text.
But like, let's say you had an issue with something Andrew did. Would you do it through text or would you do it face to face?
Well, I've done both. That's the problem.
But
like if it's in,
the moment. What do you think Andrew responds to better?
Text. I guess it because he can read it like 3 times and he's like, okay.
Andrew, to the caller.
Please. What is better for you?
Communication wise?
Yeah. Would you want me to actually talk to you or text you?
It doesn't matter.
What if it's something bad?
It doesn't matter because...
If it's something bad, yeah, I prefer a call.
Well, yeah, if it's bad, I'll just wait.
But whatever form of communication is fine with me. Either or. If it's something serious or something that I feel that it needs to be addressed, then I would call her.
Then that's important for effective communication, is knowing how to communicate.
Yeah.
So again, having that trust and that safe space with that person.
Right. And then knowing what method is appropriate is important.
And
what method of communication?
Ooh, that was good.
That's what I was trying to get at, but I didn't know how to like set it up.
Actually, that does bring up like a good one. Again, Andrew and I text most of the time anyways. I was making a sandwich for lunch, and just like out of random, I like opened the fridge and the light wasn't on, right? And I was like, oh my God, the light's not on. I'm gonna joke it and tell Andrew. So I texted him. I was like, crazy, the light went out to the fridge. And he was like, is the fridge on? And I was like, oh my God, is it on?
That's happened to me.
So like he was like telling me what to do on how to fix it.
And it just depends on the situation. Like what you said, what was appropriate in that moment. The third is body language matters. I agree with this one actually, because I've had trainings with people where they're on their phone the whole time.
Oh, that would get me so upset.
And I don't feel like I'm being an effective communicator or engaging enough if you're not even paying attention. Give me basic respect and looking at what I'm trying to show you. What really irritates me is when they heard everything I said and they have complete comprehension.
What do you mean?
There was an instance where someone I was training was on their phone. I got irritated and I was like, can you repeat back to me what I just showed you? And she did it.
You were like, damn it.
I was so irritated. Just because, like, to me, like, I get that she understood it, but now I'm questioning if later she'll be able to recall it. Because she wasn't paying attention. Like, and I can, honestly, I understand her because I can pretty much pick up on new training really easily. You show me something once and I got this.
Yeah.
But I'm also paying attention. I'm not messing around with my phone. I'm not talking to someone else. I'm not making jokes the whole time. So again, you show me something once, I got this. My fear is that it was someone who isn't paying attention. Yes, they got it this time, but in a couple of days, are you going to make a mistake because you forgot what I said?
And then who's to blame for it? Mary. Because
I'm a poor trainer because they didn't catch on to it. And even if I communicate that this is an issue, and they're going to ask, well, were they able to perform the task? Sure, they were able to perform the task. That doesn't mean they'll be able to do it in a week, or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because I only had half their attention.
Damn.
So communication with body language matters.
It's true. I mean, you don't have to sit there like all like perfect and everything. It's just more so, like Mary said, give that person the time of day.
Yep. Just some basic respect. And I feel like there's times when I'm talking to Robert about something and he's messing around on his phone or playing his video game and he's like, huh? Like I went through this whole spiel and I'm like, right, you hate her too, right? Huh?
That was just right now with the dishwasher. So yesterday I asked Andrew and he was like, yes, I'll do it tomorrow. And I was like, okay, putting away the dishes. And I was like, okay, thank you so much. He didn't do it when I woke up because he wakes up way earlier than I do. So then when he was like doing something upstairs, I was like, hey, don't forget to put away the dishes. He was like, you got it. Then he came in. He was like, what do you want for lunch? And I was like, oh, let's make this for lunch. He was like, okay, got it. He goes downstairs. We eat lunch. We're done with lunch. And I was like, hey, don't forget to put the dishes away. He's like, you got it. Putting a big thumbs up. And then Mary comes over and I was like, hey, I'm going to do the dishes real quick. And they're still in there.
Dun, dun, dun.
And I was like, Andrew, I told you to put it away like 3 times. So again, it's body language, making sure that person is listening.
But then also, like, some people just have poor follow through. So we got to try to change the approach. Because Robert, he's same thing, poor follow through. And you start thinking, and you start changing shit up.
Well,
get manipulative.
I do the same thing with the calendar like you do. I have this huge calendar downstairs, and I put little stars. I'm like, we're doing something this day. And then he can look at specifically what we're doing that day. Since we've been living together, I have changed it, like tweaked it a couple of times based on what Andrew has told me. I like things very colorful.
Me too.
And organized. Andrew does not like color. He was like, it's really hard for me to understand it. And I was like, okay. So I started doing everything in black. So that's like better for him. And then another thing that I didn't do, I would just write like, okay, this week is like when February starts. He's like, can you put like the big things we're doing in February or the big things we're doing in March, whatever the next month is. And I'm like, yeah, I can totally do that. October came around. I put our wedding just in case. You never know.
We had, for our wedding, we had a countdown.
How cool.
So it was like a what you have the mud room set up over there in our apartment, and it had a big old dry erase board part, and I would write like so many days to the wedding, and we'd write notes to each other, like telling each other how much we loved each other. We were cute then. Now it's like, bye, what the fuck you still doing here? I thought you left, like, you're gonna be late.
Sometimes Andrew's very nice in the morning. He gives me a kiss on the forehead every morning. But sometimes I'm angry because I woke up and I'm like, leave me alone.
Robert makes so much noise when he gets up to get ready for work. I always wake up and just lay there until he's gone.
I guess I just sleep through the noise or whatever. Right now, you know, like everyone got their morning pee-pee. Mm-hmm. For some reason, it's when Andrew's awake. So as soon as my body knows, they're like, oh, he's getting ready for work. Go ahead and go to the restroom. This is a great time to talk to him.
Like, honestly, I wish I woke up a little earlier, but he goes to work so early.
Yeah.
God isn't even awake. There's no light outside.
Anyways, we're off topic.
Yeah. So another one that I thought was very important for people when you're communicating is think before you speak.
She gave me big ol' hole. Mm-hmm. Because I do that.
And I know you catch yourself because you immediately try to correct it.
Yeah.
I caught you do. I do the same thing when I'm angry. I just start saying things.
I think I do it more angry as well. I try in general. I don't know. I think like I just try really hard not to be mean to anybody. Again, I don't intend to be mean, but sometimes I say something mean. I'm like, ooh, Des, why would you say that?
When I'm ready to be mean, I've thought it out. To be honest, like I had do both. When sometimes if I'm really, really angry, like it's triggered me, like the situation like we were talking about earlier, like someone's been mean to Robert.
Yeah.
I'll just start saying things, nasty things, mean things, hurtful things to people. But if it's happened to me and I'm getting sick of it, I will have crafted something very aggressive to say to that person the next time they did it.
I don't know, like, this sounds good in my head.
I'm very targeted. So, like what I said, I'm very safeguarded with my emotions. When there's only a few things that'll make me slip up on that, and that's when I'm defending someone that I care about, mm-hmm. or anger. But again, those are kind of linked for me.
Yeah.
So I think my communication gets really harsh on purpose when I'm angry with someone on a personal level.
Again, I think obviously you're angry, so it's the heat of the moment type of situation. At least for me, as soon as I say it, I'm like, oh my God, why would you say that? Or that was so ugly of you to say. And I want to apologize, but I don't think it's the right time. You know, that's my problem with communicating. So that's why my thing right now is like Andrew does something that upsets me, and I just won't talk about it. I'll just walk away from the situation. And Andrew's like, "Are you mad?" I'm like, "Mm-hmm." I just walk away.
Well, that's one of the techniques that's effective in communication is to be brief yet specific. So I felt like with that example I gave at the beginning of me and Robert having that conversation last week about I don't think it's okay for you to make light of something that's hurting me. Like I understand for him it's a defense mechanism, but for me it's insensitive. I was brief, specific, direct, and it was over. We didn't talk about it afterwards. The change was made. So I was communicated effectively and he understood. He wasn't upset with me, but we didn't keep talking about it. And I think that that's something I've seen with a lot of other couples. And we do it too, I'm sure. I'm in my rose-colored glass world for a minute where you're dragging an argument on for too long. Like you got your apology. The other person understood. Why do you keep dragging it out?
I do that. I'll do that. I have no other way of explaining it. I do it. We've already had this conversation, and I'll be like 3 months later, I'm like, hey, yo, remember when you did this? And he's like, why would you bring that up? Like, we've already passed that.
Oh my God, I had an epiphany.
What?
I put my hands in the air. I don't know why. Didn't you say your family keeps adding you about the, are we poor?
Yes.
That's where you got it from. This is a mom problem and a dad problem. You ruined her.
Great. This is why I need counseling. I'm just kidding.
Generational trauma.
Oh my God. No, it's not. But I do that. I'll even like funny stuff. And I'll be like, oh my God, remember this? He's like, yes, I remember. It's pretty funny, but it's not that funny. You've already brought it up like 10 times. I'm like, okay.
Robert does that too. Do you have any other examples you want to say, Des?
Well, I think I want to bring up, I guess I come back to relationships. I did more research on relationships as well, like family relationships, intimate with your partner, and friendships. Mm-hmm. That was my thing.
Yeah, I did workplace.
Yeah, I honestly didn't even think of workplace, to be honest with you.
That was immediately where I thought of. But let's hear your side of it too, because I agree with you.
Well, so again, make sure that the person you're talking to is going to understand you, that you have enough trust and you have enough, like, not boundaries with them, but
safe space.
Yeah, you have a safe space with them. When you're ready to do it, I highly recommend to ask them and make sure you're like looking them in the eye. You're like, hey, is this a good time right now? And if they say like, no, I'm kind of upset myself, or no, I just had a bad day at work, that's it. You're done.
For now.
Yeah. Don't bring it up until they're ready, until you see them like where they look a little better, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's important because you don't want the communication to be negative. And if they're already going in there with that headspace, it's just better to wait until it's a better time to readdress it.
Right. You wanted a safe space and you wanted a neutral space.
Right.
So it's time. Ask again, hey, is this a good time? Yeah, this is a perfect time. What do you want to talk about? When you talk about it, make sure you speak from a place of self.
Yes. And make sure you include the bridge that we talked about before.
So, I put when you said this, it made me feel blank. Mm-hmm. Or yes,
own it. Own your part. Own that this is your feeling, not the reality, but your feeling.
Right. Also, you're making this so it's more neutral. It's not triggering for the other person, and it's not like jabbing at them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's important when you do the bridge. So like before you tell them like you made me feel X, Y, or Z, or I felt X, Y when you did this.
Right.
I'm sorry, that's the correct way to do it. But you should tell them, I want to have this conversation with you because we're friends. I want to make sure that our friendship continues and that we're not having any kind of miscommunication between us. This isn't my way of attacking you.
Right.
And then go into like when you sent me that text message, I felt like you were calling me out on something
unnecessary, you know?
Yeah.
You shouldn't. So again, you said all that, but reimagine if you didn't say when you sent that text message. If you put, you're always sending me these text messages that always make me feel like shit. Don't say that, because that's going to make the other person aggressive. That's going to make the other person think like, oh, she's being mean to me.
Yeah.
What is that supposed to mean, you know?
And you want to provide a specific example, because they don't think they're doing anything wrong most of the time, and they don't know what is causing the issue.
Right. Don't bring receipts. Like,
yeah, but like you can say like, this last communication, I didn't like the way you said this.
Yeah. You could be like, or I guess an example like, Mary, you sent me a text yesterday that I didn't really like. It just kind of made me feel dumb. That's it.
And like, don't be like, look at this message at this phone. Look at it right now. That's what you said was wrong. Like, don't be aggressive with it.
Right. And the next thing is, do not be dismissive or invalidate the other person's feelings. So if the other person said, I'm so sorry, I was just playing a joke. Don't go to like, well, it's not a joke. It's not funny. Just, oh, I'm sorry. Like, now I understand that you were joking, and I may have taken it a little seriously, but I would
But
ask
going
you,
forward, it still needs to change.
Yeah, but going forward, could you not say that about me anymore?
And if you're the person responding, you could have been like, oh, I meant it as a joke, but I didn't realize it was making you feel this way. I won't do it going forward.
Right. We're all trying to keep it neutral. If you keep it neutral, you comprehend everything better.
And ask for clarification if you do not understand what the other person is saying.
And it's okay to ask for clarification. If I told Mary I didn't really like that text you sent, it was kind of dumb, or
well,
it made me...
What about that text?
Yeah, it made me feel kind of dumb. Mary was like, what's the specific point that made you feel dumb? Or actually, can you tell me what text it was?
Yeah.
That's it.
It's okay when they ask for clarification. It's not meant to be aggressive.
Again. And to end the podcast, I want to say that your hurts are important, but also their hurts are important.
Right. So keep the communication open both ways.
We're very neutral, and keep it a safe space so we can communicate and comprehend, so you can be understood and they can be understood.
Together.
Forever. Thank you so much for staying and chatting with us on Now Try It With Wine. I'm Des.
And I'm Mary.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
And don't you forget that charcuterie board, you heard?